actually just going through lectionary, so it's a 3-year cycle, and we're going through the book of Matthew, which actually seems to be kind of great because we're doing Matthew in our weekly Bible study anyway, a bit. But today's text, so the text that was yesterday, the second Sunday of after Pentecost, is Matthew chapter 9, verses 35 through Matthew 10, verse 8. And what I found to be interesting of this text was before you get into this text, Jesus is being, word is caught on, and people are coming to him from everywhere. I think he's getting maybe perhaps a little overwhelmed by the number of people that need his healing touch or are seeking his healing touch. And so we then enter into this text where Jesus is about to send out his disciples to do some healing. And so I've entitled it Moved with Compassion, because it'll say Jesus was moved with compassion. One of the things of late that's kind of been on my heart, especially this morning, you heard me talk about how I was passing out flyers in the Weber McCabe neighborhood, which is on the east side of York Road. It's a partnership that 13 Presbyterian churches have in this particular neighborhood, and we're running a 3-week summer camp in this neighborhood beginning next week and then another 2 weeks after that. Last night there was another shooting in the neighborhood, killing one other person. There were 2 people were shot, one died. This is the 5th person that's been killed in the neighborhood since May. We've had over 160 murders in our city, and it just saddens my heart to the core, especially when you think about those are the streets that I've walked on. Like, I just walked on the streets. I just shook hands with a whole bunch of those neighbors. We passed out over 300 flyers in this neighborhood. I've been in this neighborhood pounding pavement for like months, especially the last week. So I was thinking or wondering, you can follow all the murders online, right, and see lists and links. But what I thought was interesting was this thing that I found on a real story that CNN, and I was hoping Stephen was here today, that CNN did on Baltimore. And so I wanted to show that to you.
When you're in this neighborhood, you're guaranteed to hear at least one shot.
This time, the shot was just a few doors away. 37-year-old Charmaine Wilson was killed this week.
Gunned her down right in front of her children.
One of 6 people shot to death over a matter of hours, Monday night into Tuesday in Baltimore. These 2 are so afraid of retaliation, they won't show their face. According to the Baltimore Sun, there have been more than 150 homicides in Baltimore so far this year. It's the highest rate in its history. These communities and the local leaders they've elected are desperate for a solution. And President Donald Trump says he has it.
I will restore law and order to our country.
As a candidate, Donald Trump promised to make inner cities safer, highlighting Baltimore often.
There's killings on an hourly basis, virtually, in places like Baltimore.
Young Americans in Baltimore. We'll get rid of the crime. You'll be able to walk down the street without getting shot. We'll straighten it out.
That promise to straighten it out and make our communities safe again was at the center of Trump's proposed New Deal for Black America, calling safety a civil right and crime reduction a necessity. Kimberly Legree is a minister and community activist in Baltimore, and she agrees with the president's goals, but as the body count grows in her community, Legree wonders what he's going to do to achieve it and when.
I think that it sounds great on paper, but when and how will we really receive the benefits from some of these things?
One approach that Legree says benefits Baltimore now, community collaboration.
About 50+ officers that are specifically designated to be in the community. They don't, answer, crime calls or things like that. They build relationship. Right here, they build relationship.
Those relationships are often crucial in resolving disputes before they turn violent, and Legree fears they're in jeopardy. Because despite President Trump's proposal to invest more in law enforcement overall, the Justice Department's 2018 budget request slashes its community-oriented policing workforce by around 45%. And a Baltimore City official tells CNN the federal grants the city relied upon to fund its community policing squad have ended.
That 50-plus platoon of officers that are dedicated to community was cut down to 9. So what was supposed to happen with safer communities, I'm not sure. But community policing, it's something that our urban communities need, especially considering some of the things that's happened with the police relations post Freddie Gray here in Baltimore. Something like that was essential.
Guns are not the only dangers on these streets. The heroin epidemic has ruined lives and blighted neighborhoods here.
We know that drugs and crime go hand in hand. They just do. The facts prove that's so.
And Attorney General Jeff Sessions believes that going after the drug dealers will reduce shooting deaths.
Going forward, I have empowered our prosecutors to charge and pursue the most serious offense, as I believe the law requires, most serious, readily provable offense.
Now the Trump administration has overturned Obama-era policies that reserved its most severe drug-related sentences for high-level and violent traffickers.
You can't address crime by locking all people up.
Jake Oliver is CEO of the Afro-American newspaper, published in Baltimore for 125 years.
I think they are taking a sledgehammer to a problem that needs to be a lot more sensitive in it being addressed. You just can't eliminate something by stomping it out. And the program that his Attorney General has produced is an insult.
Catherine Pugh is Baltimore's mayor.
The focus by the Justice Department on reducing crime is a major one for all urban cities across this nation that are experiencing spikes in crime as we are.
She's balancing the demands of the crisis with the restraints of the budget and appreciates any investment.
So to the extent that we're looking at investing in police departments by providing them with the technology and so forth that they need to help us to continue to deal with this particular problem is major for most urban cities.
But Mayor Pugh says an investment in law enforcement alone will not make Baltimore safer.
We hope that what the administration understands is that if we're going to improve crime in neighborhoods and communities, that means investment in neighborhoods and communities. That means fixing neighborhoods that have been broken. That means creating jobs so that we can reduce unemployment.
Back on Gertrude Street, neighbors are comforting Charmaine's 8 children and recounting the story of one of Baltimore's latest shooting victims, at least until the next shots are fired.
Every night, this is an ongoing thing. It never ceases.
I'm just over this whole city.
So bringing us back to our text, one of the things that well, let's read it and then we can talk about it. Anyone want to read or interested in reading some of the text? At least the first paragraph, and then maybe someone the second paragraph, and someone the third paragraph? Sure. Oh, okay. And then do it in a second.
Jesus traveled among all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and announcing the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and every sickness. Now, when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were troubled and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The size of the harvest is bigger than you can imagine, but there are few workers. Therefore, plead with the Lord of the harvest to send out workers for his harvest."
He called his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to throw them out and to heal every disease and every sickness. Here are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip, and Bartholomew, Thomas, and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanian, and Judas who betrayed Jesus.
Jesus sent these 12 out and commanded them, "Don't go among the Gentiles or into a Samaritan city. Go instead to the lost sheep, the people of Israel. As you go, make this announcement: the kingdom of heaven has come near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those with skin diseases, and throw out demons. You received without having to pay. Therefore, give without demanding payment.
So one of my favorite words, and I've mentioned this in Bible study that's out of this text, I have a few of them, but one of my favorite ones is the word compassion, which is the splagistomai. And literally it means to like make like this like horse snort type thing that is like visceral and within it comes from the gut.
It's turning over the bowels.
And it's turning over the bowels, right?
Yeah.
So he's like totally moved. And so this word, this Greek word, is actually used multiple times. Like you see it also in like Mark 1, verse 40 through 45, when Jesus encounters the leper. Right, so he's common sense. Jesus says you probably shouldn't touch people with contagious skin diseases, but Jesus is so moved that he goes and touches and is with, and him himself becomes unclean. Right, like that's the last thing that's interesting in that verse 45 when he's not in Mark is wondering like is the reason he goes out and he's not in the cities anymore because he's not permitted to because he's unclean, or because he's still trying to get away from the massive crowds. I don't know, it's an interesting text. But going back to our text, the size of the harvest is bigger than you can imagine, but there are few workers. I love this because we're not even halfway through the Gospel of Matthew, and Jesus is already sending out his 12 and commanding them to go out and do his work. There is so much need in the world, so much need he recognizes right there. He says to them, don't go among the Gentiles or into the Samaritan, go to the lost sheep. Like those who I would say are the ones in the beginning that he had compassion for because they were troubled and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Going back to that.
Specifically Jews.
Specifically Jews.
Yeah, so don't worry about the Gentiles,
right.
And not even the, Samaritans who are related to Jews, right?
Right.
Like specifically House of Israel.
Pick your people, go out and know them well. Like really be in relationship with them. What I like this text for a few different reasons. One is I like its focus. I like that Jesus is telling us to focus on a group of people, to really get to know them and to be in relationship with them. Secondly, I like that the disciples don't have it all together. It's not like they're amateurs still, and Jesus is still saying you can still be used out in this community. You don't have to have all your shit together. You don't have to know it all. Just go and be present and know the people. So when I was thinking of this text, when I was thinking of the murders, I was thinking of what the Reverend had said on the video, when I was thinking about a little bit of what Pew was saying, besides the fact that you want to have more violence or more crime. Better crime. Improved crime. There you go. What would it mean?
That's what we get in City Hall.
Increasing our police force and getting the people getting police out of their cars, I think it's a great thing. But what if we just got our neighbors out of their houses and really just got to know our communities? How many of our folks really know each other in the community? It was interesting. So when I was door knocking in this neighborhood, I really couldn't tell you, I didn't know who lived where. The kids knew where all the other kids lived. And then knew certain people and certain houses to kind of stay away from and certain houses to go up to. The kids knew probably more than the adults did. I would actually hate to say, but they actually did. Of knowing who would be more receptive to our message and who would not answer their door. Like who would look through their Ring app and decide not to answer the door. Because I was surprised actually how many neighbors actually had the Ring app in the neighborhood. Okay. So it's a doorbell with a camera, and it connects to your phone through Wi-Fi, and so you can actually see who's at your door. And a lot of neighbors, I would say, 15 to 20 of the houses I went to in Wilbur McCabe had that app. which was quite surprising to me. I kind of thought it was like I just didn't think it would be in that neighborhood. But I would think with maybe package thefts and stuff, that might actually be, well, it's all Baltimore. But I was surprised, the number of people. But I wondered, what would it mean for us as people, as Slate folks? What would it mean for us to be like these disciples, to decide who are the sheep that we want to get to know really well and be in relationship with, and how can that be transformative? I love that Jesus doesn't say cure the sick. I love how the Greek doesn't say cure. I love how it says heal. That's a process. It's not instantaneous. So, what type of healing are we called to do in our communities? And how is the Slate Project called to be part of that healing? How are we called to be sent? And I don't know the answer to that. Like, I think that's something we need to discern. But I just know that I don't want to hear about more people being shot. And I know that we are it's not even real. We're not even in the heart of summer yet. And my heart is already breaking for what is. They're already selling shirts for this August. What is it, 4th through 6th? They're doing this 72 hours of no. What is it called? Break the cycle. Do you remember what it's called? They're selling T-shirts for $21.95. What's it called? Do you remember? But they're trying to get a blackout of telling people to go out and do barbecues. And let's have a calm period of 72 hours where there's no shootings.
Baltimore ceasefire.
Yeah, Baltimore ceasefire. Good job. And I'm like, how sad is that we have to have this 72-hour period they're asking for a Baltimore ceasefire? And then I'm thinking to myself, why are we waiting till August? That was the second thought. Why didn't we just say we're doing this now? We need to stop it now. And how can we stop it now?
Because they want it to spread all over the city. They want everybody to know. They want there to be literally no excuse for anybody. They're going to every vigil that they can and talking with people there.
But the people aren't at the vigils.
Mm-hmm.
All the people are at the vigils, you think?
The people getting shot and the people doing the shooting are going to the vigils.
They're going to the vigils?
Because, when somebody gets shot, go to the vigil and then you retaliate.
Right. So, I don't know what our role is in this epidemic. But I do think has something to do with relationships and building of relationships and knowing and loving and embracing the other.